What's up, everybody? Rob Ferretti here. A little bit of a different video. We'll include some car parts here. This is going to be the Evo bumper. We'll screw the bumper from eBay or whatever that thing was. It just randomly ended up in the car. These are the missing pieces to that body kit. And then this is the front splitter that goes under the under tray that goes underneath. But that's all got to get over to Jay's so it can get painted. I want to tell you about my worst flight ever. Now, I did the thing about Iceland Air where they wouldn't let me on the plane an hour before. They wouldn't let me check in. That was like legit BS. But this was a flight that I just had. I just went to CES. And I want to say it's just the worst experience ever, but it was avoidable. Let me tell you about it. Let me set you up here. All right, so here's what's happening. I'm going out to CES. I have United status, so I get extra legroom for free. I walk on the plane. About half the people have already boarded, and I see it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's the biggest guy on the planet. Like, legitimately 450 pounds. I don't know the exact weight, but let's just assume he was 450 pounds. In the middle seat, he's in the middle seat. This was a 10-seat wide plane. This is probably a 757, 787, something like that. In the middle seat, and then legitimately like spilling over into half of my seat. Now, you look at your first thing is like, oh no, like what do I do here? You look around, you see some empty seats, but you can't just jump into an empty seat because people are yet to board. You can't play that game. So what do? Once I've identified, like, oh, there's my seat right there. Now it becomes awkward. Like, there's two things you could do. If somebody is big, they know they're big, right? That they have a situation where if somebody doesn't sit next to them, they're like anybody. If anyone, like, I'd rather have an empty seat. Is the best neighbor to you on an airplane is an empty seat. So I'm sitting on an airplane, nobody comes, great. This guy would feel great if he knew that. But I've already now identified that as my seat because everybody else is behind you boarding. I'm not going to walk to the back of the plane to then turn around and come back. And that's where it gets awkward now because, like, I'm the guy that wants to say, like, hey, for both of our comfort, I can go sit somewhere else. He's hanging into my seat. He doesn't want, like, he'd rather, like, lift the armrest and take up 2 seats. I get it, but now I don't want to be offensive by it. And this is one of those like weird social questions. Like, what do you do? I mean, the guy knows he's huge. I don't want to make it a big deal. Like, you know, when you don't want to make it a big deal, that like, I don't want to be offensive. Is it offensive to do that? Is it offensive to say, excuse me, would you like me to get another seat? Why would you want to get another seat? Like, it just, you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings by switching seats. And that's where like you hope that there's like a sign like to a flight attendant be like, and like I think the sign was me being squished in the seat. This guy, and there's nothing wrong with him. I mean, it wasn't a not nice guy. He wasn't malodorous or anything, but he legitimately slept the entire flight to Vegas, which is over a 5-hour flight, and taking up half my seat I wasn't on the aisle. If you know the aisle seat, it's fixed, but if you push the button under here, you can lift it up. So here I am the entire flight. First, I was like this the whole time, and like I can't do anything. And then I went one cheek in the aisle, one cheek on the seat, but still sideways because then he like starts to take up more space. And it was the longest flight of my life. It was like the entire time I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Why don't I just go ask for another seat? But now you're offending somebody. So what do? I mean, and if it was pick and choose your neighbors on the flight, like the flight attendants would be doing nothing but playing matchmaker on the flight, and that stinks. You can't, that like logistically doesn't work. But what do? What is the etiquette? Like, you have a guy that needs a seatbelt extender, clearly takes up 2 seats. I've been next to smelly people. I mean, I'm sure there's an Instagram or a Twitter account for these people that are just the worst to sit next to. And where does it stop? I don't want to sit next to a kid. I don't want to sit there. I don't want to, like, how do you do this? Like, somebody, the only thing that people may not know is when they smell. But when you sit next to somebody who smells, like I've literally been like this on flights because people were that malodorous. It's like, dude, have you showered this year? Like, what is going on? You have to know you stink that bad. And it's just one of those things. So like this particular situation, and this is This is unique and also not really solvable. How does an airline do it? My experience, like I wanted to go to United and say like, what are you going to do for me? I had to sit next to this guy, but it's not their fault the guy's big. But how do you even book 2 seats? Like I can't book 2 seats on an airline under my name. Is that even possible? I'd like to take 2 seats next to each other under my name. I think it's only 1 seat per passenger. But what does an airline do when somebody's that big, other than give them the seat extension and ruin everybody else's flight? How do you go about rectifying that situation? And that's what stinks. I think there should be something, if you're that big and you're going to take up that much space. And even I've been next to people that don't need the seatbelt extension. They're just like, I'm the small guy, they're the big guy, and it makes a very uncomfortable flight. I don't know how to handle it. I don't know, what would you do in a situation like that? Would you tell somebody like, hey guy, like you're just so big, we all know you're so big, look at you, let's move to a different seat, or I'll move to a different seat, is that cool with you? But then like I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. It's the same thing. I've run this situation in the past. I want to be a nice person to people, and I want to treat everybody as they would treat me. If I had somebody sitting next to me and like, excuse me, can I get a seat where I don't have to sit next to this guy? I think that would hurt my feelings. It's just one of those things, like, what do you do in that situation? I've been in, and this is weird, and I guess this is just, you've been in a store where somebody's like, like trying to scrap together the money to pay for their Starbucks or something like that, or the supermarket, or like they put something back so they don't have the money. My instinct is like, you know what, let them get it, I'll cover it. But then I think it's like, what if somebody's like, no, it's all right, I don't need you to cover my groceries, or like, I don't need you to buy me coffee. So like, it's almost like the gesture is trying to be innocent, not trying to be like, I got so much money, I'm going to buy you something. It's just trying to be like be nice. If I was somewhere and I forgot my wallet, it would be great if somebody bought me a drink or bought me or paid for my meal because I lost my wallet or something like that, or didn't have enough money on me. That would be a very nice situation or a nice thing for people to do. But I feel like when the shoe is on the other foot, that people get offended by it, and that's really weird. I don't know. There's got to be something to be done. What do you do if you have somebody? Everybody's got a story. Like, oh, I was on this flight and this guy was the worst. I had this like you see the people with their bare feet touching the screens. You see all sorts of weird stuff on flights. But the biggest and probably most addressable would be somebody who doesn't fit within the confines of their seat. And I don't think it's okay for you to now ruin somebody else's experience. It's not because there's a kid or something like that. If you fit in, you're paying and renting that space. If you fit in that space, that's cool. Once you exceed your space and now you're taking up somebody else's space, is where it's like, all right, now somebody else's experience is ruined. In hindsight, I don't know what I would have done. Like it's very different when you've already sat down or when you've already marked the seat as yours. If they come up and say, excuse me, Mr. Ferretti, we have an upgrade for you. We'll move you over to this exit row or anything like that. It's different. But like, I didn't want to just magically vanish. I thought that would have been insulting because the guy knows he's big, and it's just like, you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You want to stick it out. And for me, it made a very long flight to Las Vegas. But CES was fun. I had a good time. I'm curious, like, obviously this is a video I love to read the comments in because somebody's always got a cool story. Some people are making it up. Some people are embellishing. But it's always full of fun stories about airline trips and who you were next to or what ended up happening or what you do. I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess I'll scroll through the comments as to what you would do in this situation. I stuck it out. I had a terrible flight. It was like possibly the worst flight. I was legitimately like, my back hurt. I was in pain. Even when he was there, I was like this. And like, you don't want to be like leaning against, even though he's there, you don't want to be like leaning against him. So you're just trying to keep that like gentle brush of space between the two people. But it was very, very uncomfortable. He got up to go to the bathroom once for like 10 minutes, and that was my like, this is nice. But other than that, it was a long flight. So leave your stories below. Thank you for watching. Rob Ferretti, a little bit different. We did talk about the Evo parts So at least we've got that going, but a little diversion. Sort of trying to figure out, I mean, because I genuinely don't know what to do in this situation. I don't know if I'm owed something from an airline. I don't know if I have a right to complain. I don't know if it's just part of flying. And the only thing I do know is that I made it through that flight. It was very uncomfortable for me, but I didn't hurt his feelings. And that's sort of the positive takeaway, because it's very easy and it's very easy to offend somebody or hurt their feelings. I mean, you're millennial. Most of you guys are millennials, so you get offended by anything. But it's very easy to offend somebody that knows they're large or maybe self-conscious about their size. I don't know how somebody can be that big, or there's got to be a way around it. I just sucks. I don't know. So I did what I thought was right, which was to keep it to myself and just hope that everyone looks at me and says, like, sucks to be that guy. But that was me. It was a terrible flight, the worst flight of my life. And and the other thing, have you ever been on an airplane and heard a noise in the sky? No, right? Like you hear thunder outside. Twice on this flight, there was like, what did we just hit? And I'm like, you didn't hit anything. You're 35,000 feet in the sky. The engine on the right side must have had huge backfires, at least 2 or 3 times, and like spaced out by like 30 minutes. I don't know what happens there, but that scares the crap out of anybody. I watch every episode of Air Disasters, 14 seasons in. I know what makes planes crash and what doesn't make planes crash. I know a plane can fly on one engine, but when you hear a loud bang outside the window of your plane, it makes anyone uneasy. It's like, what if the engine explodes? What if like what is going on? Engines don't generally make loud banging noises, and I'm very chill and more relaxed than most and rational than most people. But still, I'll tell you, that's like an uneasy feeling when that happens. You hear these loud bangs, and it's like, does the pilot know? They've got to know. Like there's a giant loud noises coming out of the engine of the plane, and it was just like literally like something hit the plane, like an impact. And that happened 2 or 3 times. I don't know what causes an engine to backfire on an airplane, but it was a little disconcerting. Added to the fact that flight was one I will remember for quite some time. And the net result of all of it, same as any other flight. You take off, you land, the flight's a success, and all you have to tell about it is that was a memorable flight. And it was a little sketchy, but it is what it is. Rob Ferretti, thank you for watching. Back to car content or some other content tomorrow, but this is a video I was like, you know what? I wonder what everybody else feels about this. And now I will know. See you later. For those of you not familiar with my other company, I started a company called Adventure Drives, which combines driving and bucket list travel. It's a lot of fun. If you're interested, prices can be done per person. Don't worry if you don't have somebody to go with you. We can match you up with somebody. You can check the link in the description for adventuredrives.com and sign up today.